every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
In a world where guidance and expertise is the difference maker, we are proud to have the #1 coaching and consulting company sponsoring Wednesday Wisdom. 2020 Vision for Success Coaching and Consulting sets the bar with their vast array of services spanning financial forensic support, executive coaching, all the way to the most robust loan originator business school in the nation. With a proven track record backed by dozens of combined years in mortgage and real estate expertise, 2020 Vision Success Coaching has the most diverse, in-depth, and intuitive professional development platform in the nation. Visit www.visionyoursuccess.net and check them out, or email solutions@visionyoursuccess.net for a free, no pressure, complimentary discovery call. You will be surprised. Affordable consulting with a rich expertise. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the amazing Bianca Broos. She is the CEO, founder, and the strategic advisor for the Bianca Broos Company. Bianca, we are so thrilled to have you on Wednesday Wisdom today, and we look forward to learning more about you. And to kick us off, our first question that we'd love to hear is, please give us an idea of one of the best pieces of advice or lessons that you have learned that you have now applied to your personal or professional life. And by all means, if it is a particular individual, give them a shout out.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for inviting me. It's always such a pleasure to talk with you and to work with you. You bring this exuberance and this joy to every conversation, and I just can't help but smile and have a better day just because I get to talk to you. That question you just asked me is probably one of the most relevant and also one of the most difficult questions to answer, because I don't know that I would be the woman I am today if it weren't for the people who surrounded me from the time I was born, a little child, all the way to today, with advice and encouragement and just wisdom, right? The ability to have somebody invest in you with their words and knowing you and shaping you and seeing things for you that you yet cannot see for yourself. That is truly what has set me apart and made a difference in my life. But if I were to have to choose one thing, particularly as I'm thinking of where I am today in my life, I have a very dear friend. She's still one of my best friends in an inner circle, who about 20 years ago or so told me, actually probably 15 years ago, told me, you know what, the thing that you need to remember is that you are here on earth to be fully alive. You're here to be fully alive. And that just really kind of caused me to pause for a moment. I was in a place in my life where I just really didn't even know exactly who I still wanted to become. And, you know, this came at a time where I thought I was doing really well. I was successful professionally. I was raising 2 beautiful girls and, you know, felt like, you know what, this is good. So I had to stop and ask myself, what does it mean to be fully alive? And so my English is my second language. So I look at words, and it really matters to me what words mean. And it helped me to assess where I am and where I'm going. I think it's really important to have vision in life. And what she was seeing is that I was going through the motions, but I didn't have vision. I didn't know how to take my full self and apply it to the life that I have and the life that I was creating. And it really stuck with me, and is continually something that I say to myself. How can you be fully alive? What does it look like to be fully alive? And to me today, that means contribution, participation, engagement, learning my people and supporting the people that we work with, our clients and our audience, in having a similar approach. What does it look like for you to be fully alive in your business, fully alive in your endeavors, and to give of yourself in such a way that you feel re-energized by it?
Wow, that is a powerful statement. And I'm so glad that you clarified what fully alive means to you, because as I'm listening, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I think this is something as humans we suffer from, right? Is that we know how to go through our day. We know how to take our task list, right? And kind of say, okay, I did that, I made forward motion. And you feel accomplished, right? Because you go, okay, I marked off everything on this list. But was that truly feeling alive, being alive, and working towards your goals and your vision of where you see yourself? And even the word goal, right? A lot of times we equate goal to, business, right? But it's not. It could be part of that vision of our life, of how we see ourselves. Like we were before, guys, for everybody out there, why I tell everyone you should have a podcast. The greatest part a lot of times of having a podcast are the conversations that happen before you hit record and after you hit record. And Bianca and I were having a fabulous conversation before we hit record. And I'm going to pull a little bit of that into this conversation right now, because I was asking her what's new and exciting in her life. And she was sharing some wonderful things. I mean, even when we become parents, right? We have this responsibility of forming these children into, effective and productive and adults in the world. And even that, every day, that's part of feeling alive and doing our best in life. So Bianca, you had mentioned a few of those things, and you were speaking about holding yourself accountable. And I want you to go a little into that, because I want to know, how do you take that principle and now apply it to your life, both personally and professionally, with holding yourself accountable to that vision that you're looking for in your life?
Yeah. So, I'm an achiever and I'm an overachiever. And I have a little bit of a tendency to ask other people around me to match my achievement, which is super unfair, but also kind of raises the bar a little bit. So when I say fully alive and when I say accountability, literally anything in business and personal life and life in general, this isn't about perfection. It's about stepping in with all you've got. And when I'm remembering my good friend telling me this, giving me this word of advice, and this perspective, what she was seeing is that I wasn't fully alive, right? And so a lot of times you need to be humble enough to be able to recognize, gosh, yeah, I'm not exactly where I need to be. Maybe I'm just checking off the to-do list. In my team, I always talk about, I don't need you to perform your tasks. I need you to fulfill your role. You recognize a theme of filling and fulfilling, right? It's a definition of success. This isn't just about goal achieving. It's about understanding how you are literally participating in your own life to be energized and to do the good work that you want to do. Well, that means you define it. That means you know who you are. That means you know who you're serving. That means you're dealing with some of these unknowns that are continually hitting us in business, particularly in the mortgage space and the real estate space. I mean, look at this week and these last few months, what's been going on. So what accountability means is really freedom, right? It's not about tasking, and it's not about holding people accountable. It's about creating a space where accountability is part of how you live. You fall in love with being accountable. And when you mentioned parenting, think about, gosh, the role I was least equipped with was being a parent. The second role I was least equipped with was being a leader in my own business. It isn't like you don't wake up and go, ta-da, I'm here. This isn't the journey. This wasn't my journey. So accountability allows me and allows you to say, what is working for me? What am I learning? What do I want to reapply here? And it's a with one another, right? It's not just my way is the highway. With parents particularly, you're parenting your child, that person, that human, their individuality, and they're shaping you. My kids have made me the person that I am today. I would not be Bianca Broos in this iteration without Julie and Katie. So I think that's what accountability does. It levels you up, it allows you to learn, and it creates an environment in which you can actually be more fulfilled. Sometimes that looks like you have to really own a mistake, really improve, really change some of the things. But other times it means you get to celebrate and you get to get even better.
I love that. And it is so true, right? We are shaped by everything. I can tell you, just even personally doing this podcast, every single time I have a special amazing guest such as yourself, and I sit on the other side listening to your insights, I can be fulfilled because we all have these special wisdoms that sometimes we need to be reminded of, right? It's not necessarily something that we don't know, but we need to be reminded because we get caught up in our day to day. We get caught up in the stress and the overwhelm of our lives, whether it's our family life or whether it's our professional life. We forget sometimes that we need to go back to basics. We need to analyze. We need to realize we all know we have but one life to live. So we should be living fully. And we are the ones in control of that life, right? Who we're giving our time to, what we're giving our focus to. Whether it's, I was hearing Simon Sinek in my brain as you were speaking, right? How many times have we heard his story of he had the great job, he had the great company, but he wasn't fulfilled. He wasn't lit up on fire for it anymore.
Yeah.
And so he had to make a change, right? I mean, that's living life fully, is knowing what does light you up. Where is that, contribution to your point? Is that a charity you're working with? Is that a particular, society or association that you're passionate about, that you want to thrive, right? All of those things complete us, right, as humans. And I know that's something that's very important to you. You mentioned how important your values are and how you're important. You mentioned the word kind, the difference. So speak a little bit to that, because you specifically said that it's not necessarily the nice thing to do. It was kind. So what does that mean to you?
I think kind goes out of its way a little, kind exercises empathy. And I think kind is not just about, yes, life is meant to be fulfilling. And if you do certain things, we think that that's going to fill us up. And maybe that's true. But there's also times in our lives where no matter what we do, it just seems like we can't gain a step forward, right? And that's where empathy and kindness come in. Because I think that for me, and that, in my experience, the advice that I've been given and the time that people have taken to invest into me with words and with vision and with hands-on support, that's a kindness. And in fact, when I ask for a favor, I don't really ask for favors. I don't even like that word. I always ask for kindness. Can you do me a kindness? Because it's really, I'm asking you to meet me where I'm at, and support me. I also love talking about support versus help. It's really important to help one another. And you mentioned charitable work. Charity comes from the heart. It comes from a place of inner wisdom, inner conviction. And so I think what I'm learning about kindness and about life in general is just the amount of awareness it takes. And that's a big ask of driven professionals who are, really working on making a way for themselves and their teams. And I'm thinking of the leaders that I work with and that you have no doubt interaction with. It's really it's inspiring and challenging to see how much empathy is required just for one another. And also, if you don't have that empathy for yourself, then you're being unkind. And so I want to just encourage people to have empathy, because that requires a certain amount of awareness to who you are, where you're at, and where you're able to go. And that all adds to that fulfilling aliveness.
Wow, very profound. Very, very profound, Bianca. Like that's definitely one of those things where I went, that is something that most of us do not take the time to do that work, right? That's inner work.
Yeah.
That is
inner work. Yeah. And I really think that look, I'm all about the race. I used to be in my teenage years, I was a go-kart racer. So I'm all about racing and fast and going for it. And I love that. And that engagement with others. But I think your inner work matters as well. And it's truly just the same as if you recognize that, you need to hydrate, you need to eat well. That sort of reflection on where am I at? What's my role? How do I want to really live into this? That has to do so much with accountability and also your integrity. Imagine if we could all just show up for one another. There are ways that things that get into our way all the time. So this is not about perfection. Again, it's about that awareness to show up and to do the work and fulfill that role. And I think in an industry, particularly where we have so many eyes on us, right? We watch each other with clients, we have partners, and then also we have the public. The mortgage space and the real estate space is one of the biggest hot topics over the last few years. I mean, it is on every front line. So it's important, if you are participating in that space, to do a lot of that self work, that inner reflection, so that you can step up and be who you say you are going to be to your team and to each other.
Yep. Be a thought leader, show your leadership. Yes.
Yep.
And to your point, I just did a seminar where I taught something, and part of it was about being your authentic self, because they said the number one thing that turns people off is not being authentic. That you have to have that inner work done to truly know who you are, because people can sense when you're not being yourself. So to your point, when those eyes are on us and when people are paying attention, you want to make sure that, number one of the reasons why people don't show up as themselves is they don't know who they are. They actually haven't done the inner work to show up confidently, because they just aren't confident in themselves to really know who they are. And we all know this. I mean, I know for myself, if you asked me 15 years ago, I probably wasn't sure. I was probably trying to figure it out, right? But now that's not the case. Now I know who I am, right? So sometimes it's a journey. It's not necessarily that you're going to figure it out.
Journey.
It can take, exactly. And you're evolving all the time.
Yeah,
right?
I have truly, I don't have it figured out. I just know that the conviction of what it is that where you're at right now, and the commitment, to conviction to utilize what you know, what you experience, your emotional intelligence, your IQ, your SQ, right? All of those intelligences that play a role in your life, really, really leveraging that. But knowing that you're not done. And I have no intention of being done.
No, we're never done. We just keep evolving.
No. Yes, I did a very interesting exercise very recently, because we're going through just a lot of reevaluating in the business. But I did this exercise where I looked at, where do I want to be 10 to 15 years from now?
Yep.
And, one of the things that occurred to me is at the age that I'm at, 15 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I've got 15 years.
It seemed like a lot, didn't
Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait, what? I've got like, where am I going to be? Oh, wait, hold on a second. So it shifted
Oh,
even that,
yeah.
even that feeling, it kind of calls you to task a bit. And I think there's so many factors that play a role in how we can show up and what that means for us and what success looks like for us and what lights us up. And then there's also just circumstances. Life is hard and
Yeah.
and things get challenging, and competing interests come into play, and suddenly you are really having to evaluate and make some hard choices. And you're not doing anything wrong when that is happening, particularly if you're continuing to just show up to that fully aliveness. What does that look like today? How are you showing up in that way today? And then how can you learn from this and adjust to it to be even better tomorrow? And I think that's been a good sort of calming thing to me, because I can get like faster, get more done. What else can I do? So just take a minute. Fully alive doesn't mean you burn out. It just means you're present. And sometimes the circumstances are a little bit less advantageous than other times. And your job is to make a path through that.
That's life. You just summed it up. That is life. All right,
yes.
Bianca.
Now, if I can just teach my 19-year-old to know that, then I'll be golden.
So exciting. I mean, I think we all remember 19. We like, you have your whole life ahead of you, and everything it's limitless, right? You have no preconceived notions of anything not working out, right? Like you are unlimited of everything is going to work to your benefit, right? And that's wonderful. We should all look at life in a way of it's unlimited, regardless of how old we are, right? And that's why every day, honestly, it's funny. Like, I think if we could somehow look at life as a child every single day, I think that would be so. I mean, I know for myself, I'm at the stage, I have an 18-month-old granddaughter. And literally, she just busts out laughing, and you give her a pile of socks, and she is thrilled. Like, she is the happiest kid in the whole world with a pile of socks, just laughing. And you think to yourself, if we got a pile of socks, we'd probably go, oh my goodness, I have socks.
There's laundry.
I've got work to do here. What's going on? Why didn't they take care of this pile of socks? Like, whatever, right? But when we get older, sometimes we lose those basic things, right? So we have so much to even learn from our younger self, right?
Well, I think you're mentioning something in us where, we look at our children or other younger generations, and they're just they're at play. It's that play. Creativity. They're at play. And you mentioned earlier that being authentic. Well, if it's really challenging to be authentic when you're out of alignment, and if you don't really know, and I've definitely been there, where you're discovering yourself. And I had a very interesting conversation with my 19-year-old daughter, where she's definitely trying things on, right? Everything from like her style, sense of fashion. I remember when she was in middle school, this started, she was a vegan for 7.5 minutes, and it was all these things we're trying, ways of showing up in the world, how we dress, how we want to, what interests us. And so there's a curiosity, and there's a creativity, and there's not an attachment to knowing the answer. And I think that really is what play is. Allowing yourself to not necessarily know, to grab in that familiar toolbox but to ask yourself what else is possible here. And that's one of the questions, in a creative agency, I ask this question all the time. Think about it. When you work with somebody who feels stuck or feels like they're not, they're just churning, they're not really making forward motion, asking them, what else is possible here? Because that's a question that kind of like opens up the mind. There's no conditions attached. It's like a 3-year-old with a pile of socks, because you could do anything, right? Just about anything with a pile of socks. It's unattached to the outcome.
That's right.
When we're adults and we grow up and we have companies and we have goals and we have bottom lines, we have a little bit more attachment. But for a moment, ask yourself, what else is possible? How can I address this from an angle that perhaps I haven't yet thought of? And allow yourself to be creative, to look at it from a different point of view. And that's really what advice is. When somebody gives you a word of advice, they really they come at it from a totally different angle, and they give you a point of view that potentially you just haven't had yet or can't have, because you're so here. So I'm thinking of my friend about Fully Alive. It's like, Bianca, you're not seeing this part of your life where you're just going through the motions. You gotta be fully alive. What's that look like for you?
That's right. And that's the whole beauty of when I hear others share their wisdom, it's things that all of us need to hear. We all need to hear it, because to your point, sometimes we're just entrenched in the day to day. We can't see it. It's there. We know it, but we can't see it. So on that note, Bianca, this has been phenomenal, and you've given so many levels of advice already. But if you were going to leave that one piece of advice, something from you that you'd like to share with the audience, what would that be?
Well, that's a really tough question. And I think I would just like to use this idea of paying it forward, right? Okay. Allowing other people, and particularly when as you're listening to this, ask yourself, what does it look like for you to be fully alive, to show up fully in your life, in your business? And, we talk about balance so much, but this isn't about, balancing your work life hats and all the various things that you do. This is really about, like, or if I think of you, right, how you show up with your 18-month-old grandchild, how you show up with a team member, how you show up with your audience. Just being fully alive in who you are allows you to grow, to be creative, to problem solve, to learn. And so I think my advice would be, ask yourself, what does it look like for you to be fully alive in your life? And if you don't have all the answers, which, spoiler alert, you don't, the advisor, the confidant, the friend, the co-leader has your 180 and your blind spots that you don't have, because we only see about 180 degrees of the full circle. So there's a whole other half where we need other people to check us and support us and advise us, so that we can be fully alive and achieve the things that we want to achieve as defined by us, which is what success is.
You are so on point, and I'm going to leave it with a particular situation of me, that in 2018, I was going through the motions, building my company, very successful, loved every minute of it, and would not change a thing. But it took an outsider, a stranger, someone I had no relationship with, to see something in me, to say, Laura, you're more than just an operator of a business. You're a voice that needs to be out there for everyone in the mortgage industry. And I didn't believe that person, and that person kind of pushed me and did it. And if that person didn't push me, that stranger that I had never known before, everything would have been different in my life, not just professionally, but personally too. So Bianca, what you just said, two things about being fully alive, yes, but also the piece that sometimes an outsider, whether it's to your point, maybe it's someone you work with, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a partner, whoever it is, sometimes it takes someone that isn't in it with you to give you that piece of advice and to share some light on you, because sometimes we just can't see it because we're too close to it.
That's true.
Love it.
That's true. Thank
Love
you
it.
so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for creating this platform and for creating opportunity to share, and for learning. I learned so much in just being having to think on this, right? I mean, you've created a level of accountability for me to be able to say, yeah, that's it. And I will be thinking on the words that I shared with your audience, and it's a privilege to have had the opportunity to chat with you.
Well, Bianca, you are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom. For everyone, take note, think about this, write this down, put it in front of you so that you're reminded every single day. And thank you all for listening. And Bianca, if people want to connect to you, learn more about you, where do they reach you?
I am everywhere. Just Bianca Broos, Bianca Broos, LinkedIn, website, Instagram. And yeah, it truly can be found anywhere. And if you see me at a conference, please say hello. I love meeting new people. I'm an extroverted extrovert. So that's saying something. I want to meet you and be friends with you. So
Awesome.
it's nice to see you.
Awesome. Be well, Bianca. Take care.
Thank you.